Hi everyone, you're very welcome to today's webinar. My name is Anna and I'm the Marketing Manager here at Cloudmore. Just some housekeeping rules before we get started. Can you put your audio on mute and send any questions you might have during the demonstration via the Zoom chat? We will try and answer as many as possible after the demonstration. The primary purpose of today's webinar is to showcase how Cloudmore can help to automate end-to-end billing for IT service providers. For those of you who are not familiar with Cloudmore, Cloudmore is a Swedish company with offices in Sweden, Estonia, the UK and the US. We have more than 1,000 channel partners serving more than 6,000 organisations around the world, including Scandinavia, the UK and Ireland, the USA and the Middle East. The Cloudmore Cloud Brokerage platform has been developed over 10 years and is used by organisations to help them sell, buy, consume and manage their processes, people and financial transactions. We describe our platform as being simple, powerful and beautiful for the users, administrators and managers that use our system. And it's this belief that drives us to provide the best possible solution for managing hybrid IT. The webinar today is aimed at IT service providers. In today's emerging cloud-first world, customers are opting for cloud or subscription-based services, and this can make it hard for service providers to keep track of changes. Managing customer usage and associated billing can cause revenue leakage or customer dissatisfaction. Cloudmore tackles these issues and takes the heavy lifting out of billing by aggregating and automating the recurring processes, such as adds, moves and changes, renewals, and billing calculations. Today's demonstration will cover how you can reduce the time spent generating billing data, reconcile costs and ensure that customers are being billed accurately, and provide customers with a clear breakdown of their usage and costs. I'm now going to pass you to our Sales Manager, David Wallace, who will deliver today's presentation.
Thanks, Anna, and thank you to all our attendees for taking the time to join today. Over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to demonstrate the three main processes involved in managing the end-to-end billing process in Cloudmore. There is a lot to cover in a short space of time, so I'm going to show some of the functionality in the platform, but I'm also going to use a few screen prints so we can get through everything and still have time for some questions at the end. First, I'm going to show you how you can manage pricing and margin and different business rules. We will then look at how we update the consumption quantities for the billing period, and then at some of the reports that will allow you to reconcile your costs and analyse your data. Finally, I will cover how you can integrate Cloudmore with your invoice platform and enable your customers to see a detailed breakdown of their costs. Let's start by looking at how we manage subscription service pricing. Every subscription style service in Cloudmore has its own price list. This gives your team a centralised place to view and manage pricing for all your services. This will enable you to make sure all customers are being charged the correct price and the correct margin percentage is maintained. Let's look at the price list for Microsoft Office 365. This price list is pre-integrated into Cloudmore for our direct CSP customers. It is automatically updated when Microsoft add new products or change the cost or suggested sales price. Regardless of if you're using Cloudmore as a direct CSP, as an indirect CSP, to bill your own services, or as one of our distribution partners resellers, the principles we're going to look at remain the same for all subscription style services. Every price list contains the product name and code, your cost price and the suggested sales price, which will be used as the default sales price unless you change it. You can change your sales price globally, so set a different price to the suggested sales price for all your customers, and you can do this on a product by product basis. Or you can set margin on a percentage basis for multiple products. The sales price we set here will be used in the billing calculations that we'll look at shortly. Pricing for consumption-based services like Microsoft Azure is managed in a slightly different way. For Azure, again, this example is for direct CSPs, Cloudmore fetches your cost price using a rate card API, which you add your margin percentage on top of. To meet different use cases, we've added some flexibility, so your margin can be left at the default 15% that makes your sales cost the same as the Microsoft list price, or you can set a different margin for specific customers. Alternatively, you can set a different margin for each subscription, enabling you to add a different rate for resources that may include a managed service and a cheaper rate if resources are shipped straight through. Next, we're going to look at the different billing rules that Cloudmore can support. Your billing rules are going to vary for each service. Cloudmore has the flexibility to support a wide range of rules for the different use cases for different services. These rules only need to be configured when you load new services and do not require any ongoing maintenance unless the rules change. One of the main issues with legacy billing platforms are that they do not support the attributes that modern subscription services have. Services will have different subscription periods, how long the customer is contracted to use and pay for a service. How often the customer needs to be invoiced. Is it monthly, quarterly, half-yearly or annually? For annual or multi-year subscriptions, you need to be able to configure the renewals rules and reminders to help reduce customer churn at contract renewal time. Subscriptions are frequently offered with a free trial period at the start of the contract, which Cloudmore can also support. Finally, subscriptions often have add-ons. These are options that the customer can add to enhance a base product. Again, Cloudmore can support these, but most legacy systems don't. Every customer will have an organisational record. These records can be imported via CSV or Excel files, or they could be linked to other business systems via API, so they only need to be maintained in one system, or they can be created individually as new customers onboard. For each organisational record, we can then see the services that that customer has. In this case, the customer has 7 different services that we are managing and billing using Cloudmore. Let's take a look at the O365 service for this customer. Here we can see the subscriptions that they have purchased, the price you are charging them, the quantity they have purchased, and the quantity that they have consumed. Services can also be procured and managed via Cloudmore, but we're not going to cover that on today's webinar, as we're going to remain focused on the billing elements. The data we are seeing here is automatically updated via API from the Microsoft Partner Center. So as new subscriptions are added or quantities changed, they will automatically show in Cloudmore and be added to the billing report based on the pricing we have set in the price list. As with the billing rules, Cloudmore offers a flexible way to update usage and consumption for different services. Some services are pre-integrated, for example Office 365 and Azure for Microsoft Direct CSPs. For indirect CSPs, O365 and Azure will also be automatically updated if purchased from our distribution partner GridHeart. Other services from GridHeart have the same out-of-the-box automation. To update consumption for services you deliver from your own data center or for other subscription services, We will shortly be launching new functionality that allows you to either import the latest data via CSV or use an API. Now that we have set pricing and configured the billing rules for our services and looked at how consumption quantities get updated, let's look at the billing reporting. This report can be scheduled so it runs automatically, and the results can be emailed to the correct person when required. It is important to note that the data we are going to look at is also available via our systems API. Most of our clients that have done full end-to-end automation of their billing process have connected Cloudmore with their invoice platform. This enables data to be passed between systems without any manual processes. I'll talk about this process in more detail shortly. Let's look at a few different use cases for the reporting. I'm going to jump into a slide deck to show you a few different reports with some real data. Some data is blurred out, it's not your eyes going funny. Let's start by showing a report that allows you to reconcile your costs against a specific service. In this example, I have selected the O365 service again from Microsoft. You can select multiple services if they're from the same vendor. In the green bar, we can see the total cost for the billing period for this service. This amount will reconcile with the invoice from the vendor. This makes sure that all costs are accounted for and that everything is being forward invoiced to your customers. The breakdown below shows a summary of the total costs and sales revenue per customer. Then it shows a summary of total costs and sales for the service, and then the totals for individual subscriptions. This allows you to investigate any potential discrepancies and can be used to make sure pricings and margins have been set correctly and that no rogue salespeople have been heavily discounting. Let's now run the same report, but this time for all services. In this example, I have also converted different currencies to a base currency of US dollars. The report is showing two line items with different end dates. This is because some services have a billing cycle that ends on the 19th of April and the other service cycles ends on the 25th of April. Again, the green bar is showing total costs and total sales value for all services for all customers. Below is the breakdown per customer showing total costs and invoice amounts, and if we expand further we can see the summary for each service and the individual items. The data shown on this report is automatically generated based on the price lists and margin, billing rules, and the consumption features that we looked at earlier. The Cloudmore solution is doing all the heavy lifting each month to enable you to quickly and accurately generate a billing file. The whole dataset for all the reports is available for you to export for detailed analysis by your finance team and management teams. This will enable you to spot trends, run projections for future months, and easily track your business performance. As I mentioned earlier, the data is also available via the Cloudmore Systems API, so you can pass to your invoice platform and send your customer invoices. Our recommendation is that you send a summary invoice to your customer that contains a line item for each service. This is because the detail will be available for the customer to view via Cloudmore in their customer portal. We're going to look at that next. You can enable your customers to access Cloudmore via a portal, so they can view service cost reporting. They can also discover new services and manage existing services, but as before, we're going to concentrate on the billing element today. This chart is showing total costs for over the last 6 months for all services, enabling your customers to quickly see trends that then can be reviewed in more detail. And this chart is showing a breakdown of the costs for all services, so your customers can see how service costs have changed over the selected period of time. If the customer wants to see a detailed breakdown of a specific service, they can run a service level billing report. This example shows the customer costs for their O365 service. For each month, they can see a breakdown per subscription, and they can see the pro rata calculations based on the billing rules that this service has. This is a good example of why a summary invoice should be sent to the customer, as the information is very difficult to display on an invoice in an easy to understand way. Another good example of a detailed service report is for Microsoft Azure. As this service is a consumption-based service, it is very important that the customer can understand how their costs have been generated. They can see the billing for each of the recently completed billing cycles, and they can also view costs incurred in the current billing cycle that have not yet been invoiced, and a predicted cost for the current period. Here, we can see a graphical summary for the selected period showing total costs per category and a breakdown below by subscription. And if they export the data, they can see tags, resource groups and resource names. This enables the customer to track and allocate costs internally to the correct cost centre. Finally, if the customer wants to see a detailed report that matches the summary invoice you have sent them, they can select the billing period and see the costs and details for all services. Again, this report can be exported for onward processing. That concludes the demonstration, but before I hand back over to Anna for the Q&A, I'm going to quickly summarise everything that we have covered. It is always difficult to demonstrate Cloudmore in such a short space of time. You have had an express demonstration that has hopefully given you an insight into how the end-to-end billing process can be managed in our solution. Service pricing can be managed centrally to make sure all your internal staff have easy access to a central price book, and it can be configured globally for all customers or on a per customer basis. The correct pricing will always be used when you invoice a customer, eliminating pricing errors and making sure you are maximising the profit margin opportunity for each service you sell. You can configure different billing rules for each service, allowing you to offer different subscription periods and payment terms without increasing pressure on your finance team, as Cloudmore will make sure every customer is billed the correct amount at the correct time. The renewals reminders and reporting for annual or multi-year subscriptions will reduce customer churn and the time it takes account managers to manage these. Usage and consumption will be accurate, as this can be automated and centrally managed in Cloudmore, making sure your customers are invoiced for the correct quantities and there is no revenue leakage for unbilled usage or any embarrassing errors. Again, Cloudmore customers save significant amount of times compared to those using legacy systems or manual processes. The powerful reporting will enable you to reconcile your costs and forward invoice your customers. The Cloudmore Systems API will deliver full end-to-end automation with your existing invoice platform. Time savings will be significant. The customer portal will enable your customers to get full transparency of their costs. This will reduce the number of billing queries and allow your customers to onward process the information and allocate to the correct cost centres. I'm now going to hand back to Anna for the Q&A. Thank you.